thought it would be fun to share some inspiration from Japanese calligraphy, some beautiful books that I've collected to give us hopefully some beautiful things to soak in, but also some inspiration for the kinds of marks and energy that goes into this ancient Zen wabi-sabi Buddhist practice. That's really about cultivating the mind and then this artistic expression in another form. So you can use this inspiration to play within your own mark making, or just soak it up and enjoy. So this is one of my favorite books called Shodo, The Quiet Art of Japanese Zen Calligraphy. And I wanted to flip through a little bit of the book to just share some of it with you. Just gorgeous. I love all the energy and all the little imperfections and spirit and texture. They're just so alive. So you can see a lot of the marks are very controlled, and they're very contained, but then they have this energy, this vitality that like bursts out. I love that combination. And I just wanted to read a little bit of this intro so you can, if you don't know about this practice, learn a little bit about it. The combination of sumi, black ink, and brush used to create Chinese ideograms, which are the symbols, is called Shodo, or the way of writing. To create sho as an art form requires not only physical preparation, but also mental preparation. The sho creates the SHO. The sho creator must learn breathing control and how to concentrate energy, or ki, Ki, or chi, in the lower part of the abdomen. Since ancient times, the martial arts disciplines of Asia have required the same centering of a person's ki or chi energy in the lower abdomen. The sho creator, SHO again, by concentrating and internalizing energy, can then pick up the brush and in a matter of seconds execute an ideogram. But those preparations are not needed when using the same tools for writing personal letters or business documents. For those prosaic tasks, one can casually pick up a brush or pen and write. It goes on and on. It's fascinating. But I love that because it really is about that intention and that concentrating of the energy inside the body that makes it a spiritual practice that's different than everyday writing. So there's something really powerful there, I think, that I feel, and maybe you do too, and you can explore and experiment with in your art making if you want to. And then I'll flip through and just show you a few more examples. This book is great because it also has lots of images of the different brushes and tools, the different stamps, inks, all of the traditional materials, the seals. And then it goes through, if you want to learn how to write, you can, specific ideograms, the specific words. Nothingness, mu, is a beautiful character. And it really embodies that wabi-sabi quality of nothingness or emptiness. But you don't have to study the language specifically if you're not drawn to that. Really, I like to look at this language for inspiration in the marks, to really absorb the energy and also that concentration and then explosion of energy, and using that to kind of ripple into my own art practices. And then there are all kinds of gorgeous other examples in here, so I won't flip through the whole thing, but you can get this book if it appeals to you, or look at images online of Shodo too, and just start to notice. I like to tune in and look at like what's going on here. So there's one line here, and then there's two, but there's also these other lines that nothing is rigid, it's very fluid. And this other mark, and the way, even running my fingers over them to feel the rhythms. I love that. So that's some delicious inspiration that you can look at if you want. And then I also wanted to show you these vintage Japanese calligraphy books that I got online. Oh, my pine needles snuck in to play. So these are really beautiful, gorgeous old books that have different kinds of Japanese calligraphy. Amazing. Oh, I just love spirit and energy. Like all the, they're just alive. The little dots, all those little marks. There's vitality there. So different than, you know, of course, like typing on a computer or texting. Like there's spirits, handwriting. And the other thing that I love to notice is that this is written in vertical columns. So I like to play with that too, with mark making and stitching, just playing with that idea of there being these little symbols, and those could be whatever we want them to be, and then in these columns, and just see how that feels and what you notice. That's one thing that you could play with, and they're endless. They're all these subtle differences, subtle marks. And I don't understand the language, so I'm really absorbing it intuitively, emotionally, energetically, visually, aesthetically. And they just go on and on. Like gorgeous. I think they're gorgeous. So we can look at, you know, I like to look at these just like the examples in this book. You know, I'll isolate and kind of tune into one mark or one character and see if, not to copy it, but just to see if I can find some inspiration in the movement and then interpret that in my own way. So often I'll do this with stitching. So maybe it's this one right here. Maybe I'll do a long stitch and then a shorter stitch here and maybe a little something on below, and maybe that'll just take me to a new place. And this is all abstract, not a literal interpretation. I also really love these marks, all those little marks. They're just gorgeous. So there's that, and then there's this one. That is a different style. So this book, you know, these ones are written much smaller and the columns are much tighter, but still there's so much there to feel into. I love too with the thin paper that you can see through, and there's something about that I find inspiring too, that maybe I could bring into my own wabi-sabi book. Maybe that idea of something, you know, disappearing or emerging. I love all the stains, and this book is such a great wabi-sabi example in and of itself, and then gathering inspiration from it. Gorgeous. And then a lot of the pages are still empty. I've thought maybe I'll pull some of those out and play with them at some point, or keep them in there. And there's other things like this where there's clusters of characters. So that could be inspiration to, you know, cluster marks in that way, or cluster stitches, or maybe play with this overall composition where there's like little clusters and then there's another little section here. So lots of possibilities. I'll take some photos of these books too and put them in the class so you can look at them more closely if you want to. And then the last one I have, I love that cover. Also very wabi-sabi. Look at all these. I think this is from the 1800s. All the tears and the fading. So gorgeous. And this one is block printed, so it's not hand done. The blocks were hand carved, I believe, but then they were printed onto these pages. So you can see they've got a real different quality. They don't have the same fluidity as the handwriting, just like, you know, computer type versus handwritten type in English. But I still find this so beautiful and still very expressive and poetic, so I can get a lot of inspiration. Love these enzos, the circles sprinkled throughout. Just amazing. So if that inspires you, play around with, and the stamps too. I love this idea. Like we could play with the idea of a square and then these different marks or gestures inside of it in stitch or ink or paint or something. Lots of possibilities. So I hope you enjoy soaking up this inspiration. Also look at how the pages have cracked and ripped. Like an animal, a little bug or something crawled through there maybe. I don't know. I love that. Very wabi-sabi. And then there's these, I just keep flipping through it and finding more things. And there's this whole section that's totally different, much bolder. And you can see that. I love all those. They're just gorgeous. So enjoy that inspiration, and I'll take some pictures and put them in the class portal, and feel free to go back to them and maybe learn more about these ancient practices in Japan and see where they take you. Look at that too. Wow. Okay, enjoy.